Welcome to the Timescales Interviews. I'm Grego, your host, and today I have a very special guest, media composer, producer, and guitarist. This right here is none other than the extraordinary Borna Matosic. And did I say your name right, Borna?
Kind of.
Kind of. Okay.
Yes, I'm not so strict when it comes to the naming because I was born in Croatia. It's a Croatian name,
Okay.
but almost my whole life I've lived in Germany. And I can tell you there are probably 99.9% of the people in Germany cannot pronounce my name correctly. So what happened over the years that my name, I just assumed a different pronunciation, and I was like, hey, it's fine as long as I know that you're talking about me. uh, and now so different people use different pronunciations, and at one point I kind of stopped trying to correct them and just went with the one that came up most often. So
Okay.
now that I'm dealing with people internationally in English, of course, the pronunciation changes again. So the one, the version that you just used is pretty much the one that I hear most people use. So that is actually the one that I myself am using when I have to introduce myself in English. So well
Okay,
done.
very good. Well,
If
thank
you want to
you.
know, if you want to know the actually correct pronunciation in Croatian, it's Borna Matosic.
Okay, I don't think I want to try that.
Exactly.
I
No,
would get
no
that
worries.
totally wrong. Yeah, when I saw you were from Germany, I saw the name Matosic, and I thought, well, that doesn't sound German, so it's Croatian.
It's Croatian. I was born in
Okay.
Croatia, and yeah, my family moved to Germany when the war happened, so beginning of the 90s.
Mhm. Okay, very good.
We've been
Yeah,
living
I
here.
had yeah, I had a friend that lived in Croatia at the exact same time that that was happening, and we were keeping in
Mm.
contact through email. And he moved to England. So, well, listen, it is really nice to meet you today. Uh, I understand that you are in Spain.
Yes, yes, I am. Likewise, nice to meet you. Happy to be in this interview situation with you. I'm currently on kind of a big road trip through Europe. So um, I have a whole year where I can just travel around freely in a motorhome, which I'm sitting in right now, as you can
Oh,
probably
nice.
see from the surrounding. So I've already been in the UK. I've traveled through France, through Spain, then to Portugal, now back to Spain. Next stop will be Italy, and I'm actually working from here right now. It's an interesting
Really?
setup. Yes, yes, yes. It's an interesting setup because I uh, I have a home studio in Germany where I have my big computer setup and everything that I need for the work that I do. And I had this challenge that I had to solve. How can I take this computer on tour with me in a van? And it doesn't really work out because it's far too big. It requires far too much electricity. So my idea was to just use the remote software. And
Mhm.
now I can work on a little laptop, just remote myself into my computer at home in Germany and do the same kind of work that I would do at home.
Wow, that I have never heard of anything like that. You are in a traveling mobile studio touring Europe where you can work from your mobile studio connected to your server in Germany.
Exactly.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was a
I
pain
will
to set it up. I can tell you that.
I can
And
imagine.
before I did it, I did a little survey in the composer forums that I'm in, just asking if anyone had ever done something like that. Because when I had the idea, it seemed like too good to be true, and it sort of is. It's still we're in a stage where the technology is almost there, but not quite. So like 3 or 4 years ago, before the pandemic, the technology was not even close to where it is now. But because so many people were having to work from home, they developed several softwares that allowed this kind of thing to allowed us to do this. It is not made for musicians, though. That is the biggest challenge that I have, because most of the people that use this software that I'm working with are designers, and they're doing 3D software, 3D designing, stuff like that. So for music, I had a whole lot of new challenges to overcome to make this program work the way I need it to work. But as long as I have good internet connection on both sides, so in Germany and wherever I am right now, it does work. And that was probably the biggest problem that I had when I was in the UK, because I don't know why, but the United Kingdom has terrible mobile internet, just like Germany. We are very similar in that regard. But everywhere else in Europe, it's perfectly fine.
Okay. The pandemic did have a silver lining, one of which was forcing people to use programs like Zoom, like you and I are using now, so that they could work from home. And because with me being in California and you being in Spain currently and traveling around Europe, we should have never met like this. And modern technology is wonderful. And I was going to ask if you were a tech geek, but you've already answered that. So,
Yes, yes.
okay, listen. So watchers and listeners can get to know you a little bit. We're gonna get into your music and your website and your works with Big Finish and what have you. Um, but just so that we can get to know you a little bit more, other than the fascinating things that we've already learned this early on, aside from your music, do you have any other interests in life, like hobbies? What's an average day like for you? Or do you have other things that interest you besides music, like skydiving, scuba diving, anything like that that you would like to share?
Probably basketball. I'm,
Okay.
I'm not I'm not the greatest basketballer, but I do like to just get out there, take my ball, and just be all alone on a basketball court. Just give me the space to just throw some hoops, and I'll be happy. It's a
Okay,
great
cool.
way to just get some fresh air and
Okay.
kind of shut off my mind. Just throw the ball, see where it lands. So that is one
Okay.
thing that I like to do.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, right now traveling around, seeing different places, seeing the cities and everything. Then when I'm at home, I do like video games. They were kind of probably the inspiration that got me into actually composing music. When I was little, I used to play the Super Nintendo games, and what I realized very early on was that I didn't really like the music that I heard in the radio or on MTV and everything like that, but I loved the music that I heard in the video games and in movies. So I always loved to play video games with nice music, watch films that had great soundtracks. To this day, I like that sort of stuff. I don't play as many video games as I'd like. I have a big pile of games that I have yet to play that I want to do at some point, but I've been too busy to actually do it. Because once I start to play a game, I feel like I'm on kind of an adventure, and I need to dedicate like a week or two or however long it takes to get through it. It's like a mini vacation in cyberspace.
Yeah, okay. So you're a
Something like that.
completionist. Once you start a game, you want to get into it and finish it.
Oh, I'm totally obsessive. I can't play nowadays you have these big mass multiplayer online games that have these incredibly vast landscapes. What are open world games basically. I can't
Mhm.
play those. It's just impossible for me because I just go. get completely lost in this landscape because I try to do everything. And to do everything, you would probably need 1,000 hours or something ridiculous like that. So I do prefer the not the smaller games, but the old school style where you go like the old Zelda games, for example.
Mhm.
You had the dungeon style. You go into the dungeon, you solve the dungeon, okay, on to the next one. And you don't have like in the newer Zelda games where you have this far too big world where I have no idea where to start. And
Right.
what I actually like most about those games is, of course, the music, but also the stories. And I feel in open world games, the story kind of it's more like play your own story. It does have story elements, but the story doesn't seem as strong to me, at least, as all those other like older Final Fantasy games had perfect story. It was just you were going on an adventure and you could only go from point A to point B because that was the story that was being told. And
Okay.
I, for various reasons, that's the kind of games that I prefer.
Okay. Well, I think that that is sound advice because there is one game that I recommend and don't recommend at the same time, and that's Eve Online. The a massive MMO. I've been playing
Mm.
it for about 20 years,
Oh.
and a person could easily spend every waking hour of their life playing that and not see everything uh, twice. It is absolutely huge. I finally was able to get away from it here in the last five years or so, but it's very engrossing. So
Yes.
this is funny that we're talking about music and video games because somebody I don't remember where it was in the last couple of days on Reddit must have been a younger person because they were talking about the very first music that they ever heard in a video game. So I was thinking back about music and video games, and my first video game was Pong on an Atari
Oh, yes.
2600, and it didn't have music. So it was making me wonder. I wonder when the first time I saw a video game was that had music in it. Um, but I don't think you go all the way back to playing Pong in the 1970s when it came out,
Oh,
do
oh,
you?
it will shock you, but I did actually play Pong as one of my first games. Not in the 70s though. It was in the beginning of the 90s.
Okay.
I we had some I don't know what game console it was. It was one of those where you actually put those old discs in it, like the computer
Mhm.
discs. And
Yeah.
those discs had all kinds of old games on it, including Donkey Kong, the old arcade games,
Mhm.
Pong, Frogger, um, what is it, Space Invaders, I think, stuff
Yep.
like that. So I did have a brief um, time where I experimented with those games before getting my hands on a Super Nintendo.
Okay. I think that the origins of music and video games was somewhere around the early 1980s with games such as Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., if you can actually call that music, because
Mm.
it's a very brief don't. It's very brief and repetitive, but eventually music has made it into video gaming in a huge way. Now, getting on to music, do you happen to be a concert goer? I was reading your website about how you wanted to cover every Iron Maiden song. And when I hear somebody say like that, I immediately think this is somebody that goes to concerts.
Oh yeah. Uh, not
That's
as
what I thought.
often, not as often as I probably should. But yes, every time Iron Maiden is in town, I will go there and see them. Actually, this year or last year was the first tour that I missed from them since 2003. Because
Wow.
yeah, I've been traveling around, so I missed them this time. But every other tour, I've seen them, and it's incredible how good they still are. It's
Yeah.
mind blowing to watch them, and the energy that they still have today is incredible. So yes, if I see a band that I like is somewhere near or maybe even far away, I like to go to concerts. it's not just rock music. There are several soundtrack, like orchestra tours that are happening around the world, from video games or film music concerts. This sort of thing is gaining more and more attention in the last probably 10 years. We see these concerts pop up more and more. And one person who I will travel the world for is Joe Hisaishi. He's the guy that composes the music for the Studio Ghibli films. It's those
Oh,
Japanese anime cartoons, basically. You know, the stuff
yeah,
like
very
Spirited
familiar.
Away. You know
Yeah,
them, yeah.
very familiar. We went to the Studio Ghibli headquarters outside
Ah,
of
yeah.
Tokyo last year and got to see an unreleased film. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
aside from uh, these musicians, uh, would you say you have a favorite, or is it Iron Maiden?
But when it comes to rock music, it is Iron Maiden, yes.
Okay.
Then for film music, it's it's Joe from the Studio Ghibli films.
Hmm.
Then John Williams, of course.
Oh yeah.
I don't think any film composer does not have him far up on their top list. Um, Alan Silvestri, who did the Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, stuff like that. Hans Zimmer, of course.
Right.
Those
Yep.
types of guys. Of course, Murray Gold, when we go
Right.
more into the
Right.
TV areas. Yeah, guys like that. Or if you want to go into the video music, there's Masashi Hamauzu, who does the Final Fantasy, the newer Final Fantasy games, or all the way back to Final Fantasy X. Incredible guy. So many good ones. Hiroki Kikuta, who did Secret of Mana back in the 90s, one of the most inspiring soundtracks for me in my life. Probably the first time that I heard music and thought, wow, I would like to be a composer someday just to create something like this for
Really?
whatever reason. Yeah, it happened. I was, I don't know, 10 years old, listened to that music and just thought, this is this is so cool. I want to do something like that one day.
Okay, see that you just answered exactly what I was wondering. And
Oh,
and I am wondering about your origins in music. Um I do know about the little yellow guitar with the one
yes.
string recovered from the trash, but you've just described your origins in music. So you were around age 10.
Probably you could go even further back to I was maybe 5 years old when I got my first toy piano, toy keyboard, whatever you want to call it, one of those tiny things with 20 keys or something like that. And I just plugged it in, turned it on, started playing melodies on it without knowing what I was doing. It was just I had a melody in my head and I was trying trying the keys, seeing just checking out what would happen. And you could probably say that I composed my first melody back then. I remember I don't know the melody anymore, but I remember the shape of it. It was kind of going down and what I would call a sequence nowadays. So it just happened like that. And when you're in school, you have these for Christmas. People get together and the children play Christmas music for the grown-ups. I did
Mhm.
that. I didn't know how to read sheet music or anything, but I knew the melody and I just could sit down on my keyboard and try the different keys until I had the first note, and then I tried until I found the second note, and then I just put it together until I had the complete melody on it. Just I never realized until much later that this is not something that everybody's born with, just the ability to transfer the melody that you hear in your head onto an instrument. So I was just born with that, luckily.
Yeah, yeah, you were born with a wonderful talent. And what I'm wondering is, I was going to ask about your educational background, and it sounds as if to me that you were just naturally self-taught. And I'm wondering, did you come from a home or school where there was music on all of the time, perhaps?
My parents did listen to a lot of music, yes, but it wasn't necessarily a music background. So
Mhm.
the closest I have is my grandfather who used to play keyboard. So he did try to get me to learn keyboard properly when I was a kid. But what I didn't really enjoy it because it was too much theory for me back then. He came with the sheet music and told me, okay, now you learn the C major scale, and I did do it for a while, but didn't interest me much. I would just like to experiment on my own. And yes, I'm basically from my music roots are autodidactic. So I am able to teach myself anything that I'm interested in. But later on, I did start to actually study music too, because particularly for the orchestral stuff, I felt that I needed to get more theory in my brain than in contrast to the rock stuff. I was able to write rock music songs for bands and play the guitar without anyone showing me how to do it. That was just something that I learned on my own. But when I really remembered from the childhood days that I want to be a composer for video games or other stuff like that, film music, for the soundtrack stuff, I thought it would be a good idea to get some theory, more theory than I had learned on my own. So what I did was I joined the Berkeley, what did they call it? The Berkeley College of Music online. I think they call it the extension school. So where you don't go to the actual campus in Boston, but you just do the studies from wherever you are. You can just do it online. And the great thing about it is it's the same material that you get when you're on campus in Boston, but for a little bit cheaper price, and you don't have to move around the world to learn all of it. So that's
Right.
where I learned a lot of film music composition, all everything about orchestra sizes, orchestration, arranging, all that necessary stuff that you need if you want to compose for film, and how to
Okay.
work with orchestras, basically.
What an absolutely fascinating story. Very extremely interesting. Um, I guess one last thing on your origins. Back when you began, did you have anyone around you that mentored you and supported you? Like maybe something as simple as saying, "Hey, that's really good. You should keep doing this."
I'd say my parents were supportive. They didn't try to discourage me from doing this, so that was a plus.
Mhm.
From Since I taught myself most of the time, I didn't have like a real world mentor in that sense. But very interesting question actually, because when I think about it, I did have someone who served kind of as a mentor, and it was a cartoon character named Mr. Fastfinger, who you probably never heard of.
I have not.
There was, I think in 2005, there was an internet sensation. It was a website that went completely viral in guitarist circles, and it was called the Guitar Shred Show, or yeah, I think it was guitarshredshow.com. Sadly, I think a year or two ago, the guy who made this, his name is Mika Tiska. He's from Finland, and it was a Flash website. He's a designer and a musician. He's a brilliant guitarist, and he came up with this idea of kind of creating an online dojo, like for have you watched Cobra Kai or the Karate Kid movies?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Sort of that kind of thing. He was my Mr. Miyagi. except
Okay.
he wasn't there in person teaching people,
Right.
but he had created this character, Mr. Fastfinger, who was this sort of sensei living on a lonely island, and it was an interactive website. You went to the website and you could click on different parts of the island where he was living, and he taught scales. He taught different riffs and licks. You could hit a key on your keyboard and he would play something really crazy, and he would show all the notes if you wanted to replicate what he was doing. So I learned a lot from that website. And even when
Wow.
I wasn't actively learning from the stuff that he was teaching, I just put the website on, had the ambience that he had created on, and felt like, yes, I am right now, I am in Mr. Fastfinger's dojo. And together with Sensei, I'm going to just practice my scales and stuff like that. Crazy.
Well, I have, that's fascinating. It's being mentored digitally online. How,
It's yeah.
how,
It
wow,
only works
very,
if only works for people who are able to teach themselves, basically. But it was
right.
funny because I imagined, okay, I'm now in this dojo. It's a crazy experience. Oh, actually, I did meet the guy later on, because
Oh,
in the
you
beginning
did.
I did not know who he was at first. We had crazy theories about, is it maybe it's Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or some
Mhm,
of the big
mhm.
guys, because he was incredible guitarist. So even though it was a cartoon character, we couldn't see him, but his playing was perfect. It was very, very expressive. And later on, I found out, okay, it's Mika Tiska who's behind all of this. He's the creator. He did all of the website programming. He did all the designs. He's brilliant guy. Of course, he played all the guitar parts, composed the music. He's actually a recording artist now. So if you type in Mr. Fastfinger into Spotify, you'll find several albums that he did. And I think it was 10 years ago when he came to Germany, to Koblenz, and I found about it. He was doing a guitar clinic. Of course, I thought, hey, it's not often that he comes so close to me, so I went there,
Mhm.
booked a private lesson with him. That was, I think, probably the only guitar lesson that I ever had. And it was not because I needed to learn how to play guitar, but just, come on, I want to meet this great crazy guy, and he can tell me if I'm going completely in the wrong direction with anything. But it was fine. We just had fun. He showed me a few tricks. It was cool.
Well, I'm shocked that you would say that that's the only guitar lesson you've ever had because last night I was on your YouTube channel and I was checking out your music video, Desert Rain, Rocking in the Glencoe Highlands. And your guitar playing is absolutely, I can't think of a word for it, as masterful. And this video is absolutely wonderful. And you're a testament to people that believe that they can be self-taught. Because in looking at that video, I didn't know what you were going to tell me today. Okay. But in looking at that video, I would have thought that you took guitar perhaps from maybe age 5 all the way through the end of college or something like that. And to learn that you're self-taught is absolutely amazing. You are incredibly talented.
Well,
And
thank you very much.
yeah, yeah, everybody needs to go check this out. Check out his video on YouTube. It's called Desert Rain, Rocking in the Glencoe Highlands, and it is absolutely beautiful. And we're gonna put a link right down to that below. So all right, so we've covered your mentorship and your origins in music. Um, do you have a first a memory of when you got a first sense of accomplishment? Now, I do know, going back to the little yellow plastic guitar with one string, and when you recorded that, you recorded a cover of an Indian song using one string. And I'm thinking that listening to your recording may have been a first sense of accomplishment. Um, Was it, or was there something bigger that came later, and where you actually looked at what you finished and went, yes, I nailed it?
It was probably, yeah, I think you can say that because it was just a stupid idea that I had, and I should probably tell the story. Like you say, it was a cheap yellow toy guitar that I found in my school's garbage bin. I took it out, saw that there's I don't even think that the one string was attached anymore, but there was one string that kind of loosely uh, was hanging on it. So when I got home, I put it around and started to just pluck around and see what happens. And I figured out, oh, I think I now understand how guitar works. If I put my finger here, it makes this noise, and if I go in this direction, the notes get higher. If I go in this direction, the notes get lower. So that was all that I needed to know. And then I just started to play the first notes that I there heard, and I was like, oh, from the sound of this super small guitar that didn't have any sound hole or anything. It was just a nylon string on plastic. It sort of sounded more like a sitar than a guitar. So naturally, I gravitated to something that sounded like that. And I remembered this super big hit. I have no idea how you pronounce it. I think it's Mondiante Bacche. It was big in the early 2000s. And this guitar sounded kind of like that. So I started doing that and recorded it on a super cheap computer microphone. And when I listened back to that, I thought, yeah, this works. So the thing wasn't that I felt super high accomplishment from recording this, but just that I felt, okay, I understand how a guitar works. And I think if I get a real guitar now, I will know what to do with it. That was actually the bigger thing. So of course I didn't have the money to buy an electric guitar, which I always wanted to have, because I listened to Iron Maiden. I didn't listen to, I don't know, other stuff, classical stuff. So since I didn't have the money, I borrowed an acoustic guitar from a friend. And what did I do? I played heavy metal and rock music on an acoustic guitar, sort of in a Tenacious D fashion. Do you know Tenacious D?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they kind of created this sound where we're playing super heavy hard rock stuff, but on
Hmm.
acoustic guitars. But in our heads, it's still heavy and hard, which is kind of the comedic bit of why it's so funny. So that is what I did for a while, just because I didn't have the money for an electric guitar. That took, I think, probably half a year, maybe a year, until I had saved enough money to go and buy a real electric guitar and an amp. And when I sat down with that, my idea was, as you mentioned earlier, I want to just my goal with this thing is I want to cover every Iron Maiden song that there is. I want to learn all of those songs, all of those crazy guitar solos, because those guys kind of inspired me to pick up the guitar. And as soon as I plugged that guitar in, sat down, I don't know why, I just started playing my own stuff. And I never got around to actually learning all those Iron Maiden songs because I just went in a completely different direction, started composing my own music, started finding band members around me, creating those songs, starting to tour our local pubs and clubs, and it went from there.
Okay. Borna, thank you for telling that story. Hearing it from you is absolutely wonderful. And it's something I won't forget. Because I did read it, and hearing you say that is really special. And thank you. Now shifting gears here, I want to touch on your website. I want everyone thank Borna for his time in doing this interview. And if you've enjoyed or learned anything about it, check into him more, and I can tell you exactly where to start. Go old school in this case. Go to his website, bornamatosic.com. And we're going to put a link to it down below. and he does mention his origin story briefly there, but now we've actually got to hear it from him. Now, I'm on your website on my phone here, and I've listened to almost all of the music. I've been listening to it since yesterday, knowing that I was going to have an opportunity to talk to you. And there is something that stands out to me about your website as being remarkable, and I want to verify some things with you. Now, let me use an example here. You have multiple samples of different genres, such as cinematic, epic, grand, video game music, pop, rock, jazz, uplifting and comedy, soundscape and horror, intro, jingles, and adverts. Now, one of these songs in particular, I'm just going to use this for an example. Um, Under cinematic, there's a song called Journey to the Light. Now, I have listened to that, well, a bunch of times since yesterday. I don't know how many times. You may not want to know how many times I've listened to it. Half a dozen. We'll say half a dozen. And you know what that song made me think, it made me think of technological breakthroughs that we're seeing these days, such as the new electric car companies emerging. You know, we have one here called Lucid, and I thought that song would be absolutely perfect for a Lucid commercial. And other things like OpenAI that just yesterday announced a teaser for the new Sora. Sora in Japanese means sky, by the way. OpenAI announced their new Sora text to video AI feature, which it's not public yet, and apparently they're still testing it and making sure it's safe. But with things like that, and then reading on your site where you say you also have a whole bunch of other videos, but there's a way to contact you to license your music. And I think that that is a wonderful thing. And I want to talk about licensing on YouTube, but first, let's say let's start with the big companies, OpenAI with billionaire founders and Lucid Car Company. If these companies were to come to you and say, we want to use that music in our commercial, would you license your music to big giant corporations like that?
Hmm. Oh, that is an interesting moral question, especially with all of the AI stuff. It's
Mhm.
it's a hard thing to answer right now. I mean, I think we have to separate it. When it comes to AI, what I hear in composer circles a lot nowadays is that they take music not to advertise, to use it for some video or stuff like that, but they actually use it to teach their engine, to teach the AI, to then go on and create something similar to what I've composed, but have it not attached to my copyright, basically. So
Mhm.
this is a dangerous thing where we will see where it goes. Um, it would be case dependent, I'd say. If it's an AI company that sort of does an interesting video, I wouldn't necessarily say no. But I
Okay.
wouldn't like their AI to learn with my music to then start to copy me, which it can't because I'm me. But you know.
Right, right. Okay, that's a very interesting answer. Now, my other half of that question, with let's say the small people, the content creators on YouTube, I think that it is common um, for people to have been hit with a copyright claim or a strike. And I think that it's happened to everyone at some point if you're using other content. And I actually licensed a song written by Murray Gold to use in one of my original interviews. I didn't steal or copy his music. I actually had it composed as a cover And before putting it on YouTube, I went to a company in New York City and I licensed it. So I paid for that, received my license number, and when I uploaded it, sure enough, almost immediately there's a copyright claim of the song uh, with Murray Gold, and I had to respond and show that okay, this is not his work. This is using his melody, and this is a cover, and I have licensed it. And then they cleared the copyright claim. Now, something even worse, um, I myself have also received a copyright strike where those are dangerous because if you get three of them, you can lose your
Mm.
whole YouTube channel. Okay. Now, in this case of the copyright strike, um, it was a label in another country claiming that a song that I had written and had composed with my friend Gita in Indonesia was using their melody, which it was not. Well, I had never heard of that song. So I think that content creators these days, they really need to be cautious because if somebody's been into something for a year or two, they can't risk losing their channel. And I think it would be a much wiser choice to seek out music that they love and pay the license fee to the creator. So let's say another content creator is watching this and realizing, hey, that's probably a really good way to go. Can they go to your site and contact you and say, hey, this song right here, I want to use it on this video, and they can license it directly from you?
Yes. So um, all those
Wonderful.
all those tracks that you have on the website, I have 100% all the rights to those and can without problem license everything to anyone. But the whole topic is a very interesting one, and I was I just remembered something when you were speaking about it.
Mhm.
Um, I myself get copyright strikes, and not just for the covers that I do. You mentioned you had a cover of Murray Gold's music. As
Mhm.
you know, I have several covers of his music too, and all of those they don't get the copyright strike, but
Mhm.
it's the content ID claim,
Right.
which is completely fine and normal, and I don't have to respond to it in any way. It's just the system tells me it found his melodies in my recording. And as long as the system is good enough to be able to separate his recording from mine, everything's good. Because this is just the way I want it to be. I put a cover online and I want him to get his cut of all the um of the ads that are on this video. I want it to be correct. The problem is the whole system is messy. It doesn't work the way it should. And I even
Right.
a few years ago, I messaged YouTube and I told them, look, I have this one video where the system did not recognize this as a cover. It's The Shepherd's Boy. I did Murray Gold's
Right.
The Shepherd's Boy. I
Same
uploaded it.
one. That's the same one
Same
I
one.
did.
I
Right.
uploaded it. I did not get a strike. I did not get a claim. Nothing. It thinks it's my song, which is completely crazy.
Oh.
Obviously, it's not. So the problem is I am not able to monetize this video. Not because YouTube won't let me. They will let me. I can do it. I
Mhm.
can do it now. I can go to my channel and put, yes, activate all ads. But it's illegal. I
Right.
Because obviously it's not my composition, and I don't want to do it. So
Right.
this is one of the I think it's the only Murray Gold composition that I have on my channel. Oh, along with the medley that I did, which was the first one. And I understand why that one didn't get recognized because it's a fusion of different melodies. But The Shepherd's Boy is actually pretty close to the original, and I couldn't do anything about it. So it's just to this day there's no ads on it. Murray Gold doesn't get a cut. I don't get a cut. Nobody profits from this. It's stupid. And I messaged YouTube. I told them, look, there's a song. It belongs to this guy. He composed it. Is there a way how I can tell the system what the music is, because there are if I want to release music on Spotify, for example, I have to put these code numbers. Every composition that you make, it gets this code. And if you put this code, it can be a cover. It has the same code, whatever. You're able to match compositions, and the system recognizes, okay, this is a composition by Murray Gold. He'll get, if someone buys my Shepherd's Boy cover on iTunes, he will get a cut, I get the rest. And it works perfectly. But YouTube doesn't do this. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
their system doesn't work very good. I will have to agree with you, and I've never heard of a
Exactly.
situation like this where it actually failed to catch something. Normally, it's situations of it being wrong and
Yeah.
not missing. And that's funny that we have both covered Little Shepherd's Boy. I'm gonna have to go
Yes,
listen
yes,
to
yes.
yours. And as far as I know, Murray Gold will get a cut of my cover when it's played, but unfortunately, it's only the song is about 4 minutes long, and unfortunately, after that happened, I decided just not to upload the whole song by itself, and I still haven't done that because I didn't understand the difference of the severity of a copyright claim and a copyright strike, and they're very different.
Mm.
And after responding to the copyright claim for Shepherd's Boy and getting it cleared, I was just kind of done with that. I didn't really want to get into that. And then when it came to the copyright strike, which was basically a huge error or a lie, I had to go through the whole legal process of giving all my personal information to somebody that I don't know in another country just because they made a claim that my music was theirs, which was absolutely completely false. So yeah, YouTube's got a little bit of work to do. So in summary, um, let's say there's a Doctor Who content creator that is doing their own panel chat with people, and they want a really nice, beautiful introduction and a nice closing medley. They can go to you and not only license the samples that you have available on your website, but they could also have you create something original.
Oh, yeah, of course. I can do
Okay.
original music. I can license the stuff that I already have. Of course, since you mentioned that it's a Doctor Who content creator, if a Doctor Who content creator comes to me, they usually want the covers of Murray Gold's music, which is a far more complicated process.
Right.
If I was to license my covers, I can do it, but people that want to license my covers, they don't usually understand the whole process that they have to go to Murray Gold too, because
Right.
the copyright is separated into the sound recording, which I own. Since it's my cover, I completely re-recorded it. And of course, the composition itself. So they need a sync license and the master use license. And I can't give them both. I can just give them the license to use my recording. But if they don't get the sync license as well, it's not a
Yeah,
complete license. So
I
it's a
know. Yeah,
two-step solution.
I know
But for
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
for my original music, it's easy because I own everything.
Okay. That's funny you said that because I was just going to say, you know what? I'm going to send you my file of my Murray Gold cover, but I can't because I don't have a license to do that. It's only for streaming. So I would have to put it online and send you a link. I can't actually just email you the file of it because I don't have a license for it in that manner. So yeah, very, very interesting, complex things. But I think that your website is something of that offers a absolutely tremendous value for content creators, and they should be aware of it because I mean you talk about some of the most beautiful music that can be used for content creation, and it's right there. Borna Matosic.com. Go down there and check that out. So
Thank you.
we're going to put the link below. Yeah, thank you, Borna. Listen, we're getting near that hour I asked you for, but I wanted to touch on Big Finish here real quick. I've just got a couple
I
more
don't have
here.
a deadline to die tonight, so
Okay,
feel free to
awesome.
let's just keep going.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. Um, Now you've done music for Big Finish, and as I was talking to you about before we started recording, this interview series is a study in shared traits of people in arts and performing arts, and we have found out some very interesting things about you with you being self-taught and your origins. Um, but we also get into Doctor Who a little bit here. so I think that we should do that. Now with Big Finish, you've done music for the Unit series, and then you've also released a single which is titled Basically Run. You put that out here recently. That's for the 11th Doctor Chronicles Volume 5, which is a new theme song for the 11th Doctor. And then previously, you had done Broken Hearts, the other 11th Doctor Chronicles box set before that. And then most recently, Victory of the Doctor. Now, Doctor Who is something that I have recently learned in just the last couple of years in talking with Doctor Who fans and creatives. Doctor Who is something that is not only a part of British cultural history, but it is a treasured part of British television history. And what I'm wondering, with you being involved and now having your name down forever with these Doctor Who stories, how does it feel to you to have contributed to cultural history?
That is a very good question. It's mind-blowing, actually. It was a big step for me to finally get from just composing cover music for the Doctor Who universe to actually adding my own music to it. So that was a big achievement, you might say, and something that I was very honored to get the chance to do. Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much what I'd say to
Okay.
that. But it wasn't just the music that I did for the audiobooks. Actually, the whole Doctor Who experience that I have is completely crazy. Did you know that I was invited to the 60th concert that happened recently last year?
No,
That
no, I did not know
I
that.
I actually got the chance to play Doomsday. I joined the BBC Orchestra of Wales with my electric guitar
What?
to play Doomsday with them. That
What?
that was
Wow.
crazy.
Okay, yeah, I did not know that.
So that was
That is
another way how I kind of got into the history of Doctor Who.
okay. Wow. I'm speechless.
I
You were
was
on
too.
stage playing. Yeah, you were too. Wow. Okay. Um, Now, just recently, it was announced that your music soundtrack for Victory of the Doctor is a 43-minute long bonus download from Big Finish when people buy that story. And I typically buy every new Doctor Who story that comes out from Big Finish, and I was elated to find out that I was going to get that also. So people need to check out the most recent Big Finish release, Victory of the Doctor, and it comes with 43 minutes of Borna's music as a bonus. Um, Now, Borna, one thing that I have noticed about these stories that we've mentioned, Victory of the Doctor, Broken Hearts, um, and the Unit series, these stories seem to be getting really high ratings and reviews. And I am thinking that music is extremely important, not only in film and television, but particularly in audio. And would you agree that it is, well, like me, would you agree that it is extremely important um, for music to make a good story?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, as a soundtrack fan, obviously, yes. But even for all the people that don't consciously listen for the music that is happening
Right.
in the background, it is absolutely vital. You can't go without it. And even some people have gone they've proven it because there a few years ago there was this video where people recreated the end of one of the Star Wars movies where they have this big parade, but they removed all the
Oh
music.
yeah, yeah.
And when you watch that scene, you realize, oh, okay,
Hmm.
it's the whole impact is completely gone. So with
Yeah.
music, you have so much different possibilities how to score the same scene to completely change the meaning, go from one direction into something completely different. So I imagine for anyone that is hiring a composer, it can be a very scary thing too, because you don't always know, you never know what you're gonna get back, and the composer might create a whole new meaning to the scene, something that maybe goes in the wrong direction even, which is why you most often you have this back and forth between the composer and the director until both are on the same page, and you end up trying to understand the vision of the director and emphasize that instead of doing your own interpretation. But yes, to the
Okay.
short answer is absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's in film or video game or in audio drama. The music is super important.
Well, okay. So the consensus there is 100%. Each musician that I've spoken with as a part of this interview series has made similar, even passionate comments, such as the music being vital. So I guess it would be easy to say that Star Wars has John Williams largely to thank.
Oh yeah, I think
Yep.
if somebody else had composed it, it probably would not have had the long-lasting legacy that
Yep.
it does have to this day. And you see, actually, most of his movies, not his, probably Spielberg's movies, yeah,
Mhm.
where he composed the music, all of them are amazing. The
Yep.
music is fantastic, and it's incredible that he is still going strong today at I think 93 years old, something like that.
Right. Right.
He's still composing, and his music is still as beautiful as it always was. It's crazy. It's one of
Yeah.
those things. Uh, Creating music is one of those careers where, in contrast to sports, where people peak at early 20s, or in basketball they can play longer. I think Michael Jordan, I think he was probably 35 or something when he retired. But imagine that. With music, you can still keep working as a 90-year-old. That is super inspiring
Yeah.
because it doesn't feel like work. It's just something you do. And if you're lucky, you get paid.
There you go. Okay, you know that right there. I think um, I've come to a conclusion about your works. You love what you do, don't you?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, and you
Absolutely.
would say you would say that loving what you do may be vital.
I would say that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now that's something that I found in common with people across the realms of arts and performing arts is that they love what they do, and anything from authors to stage actors to musicians, and that it is wonderful. John Williams has to love what he's doing, and I am so happy that he's still being able to do it at age 93.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
hope he continues for another 100 years.
We can hope. So,
I wish
okay.
him a long life.
Yeah, yeah. I do love John Williams. My wife and I got to see him in concert, and it was
Oh
an
yeah.
absolutely wonderful experience. So, okay. So, one more question about audio dramas. I'm wondering, what is the actual process like of creating the music for an audio drama? And what I'm imagining in my head is uh, something to where you get an email saying that we would like you to do music for this, and then you decide if it's what you want to do. Let's say you say yes, tell them, yeah, I'm going to do it, and then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, this black van or a car pulls up in front of your studio, and these gentlemen get out in suits, and they've got earbuds in, and they walk up to you with a package, and without saying anything, they give you this package, and then they leave. Just they don't say anything. They just leave as fast as they got there. Okay. And then you go and you open the package, and it's a CD or a thumb drive, and it has this audio drama that has been recorded, and it needs the music. Okay. I have no clue whatsoever about how audio drama music is created. Am I close?
Oh, I wish. I wish it was like that, because that sounds very exciting. So, I mean,
And in your
it
case,
is.
they would have to find your mobile studio in Europe.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Moving around.
Hard to track at the moment, I'd say. No, so the process, you were right in the beginning. I got an email, particularly for the 11th Doctor Chronicles. I got an email just asking me if I was interested to do this. And my process started immediately. I think I didn't even respond to the email. I just went to my, I did eventually, but
Right.
before responding to the email, I immediately went to my piano and started composing. So you mentioned basically Run a few minutes ago, the
Mhm.
theme that I composed for the 11th Doctor. That was the first thing that I played on the piano, probably half an hour after opening that email, something like that.
Okay.
I just sat down and I was thinking, okay, 11th Doctor, we know the character, which is a big advantage that I had, because Murray Gold had done the work. He told us, not just Murray Gold, but all the showrunners, the writers, they had established this character. Matt Smith had played him perfectly. We knew exactly, okay, this is the 11th Doctor. This is the kind of guy he is. And Murray Gold perfectly captured his character in his own themes. Stuff like I Am the Doctor, Majestic Tale of a Madman in a Box, all those tracks. So there was sort of a sound already connected to the 11th Doctor, and I did not want to go in a completely different direction. My goal was to create something in that same soundscape, sort of, kind of something that you could imagine if Murray Gold was to write another theme for the 11th Doctor, that maybe he would go in that kind of direction. That was my my own motivation behind it, my challenge, sort of. Not just do my own thing, but do my own thing with all of that in mind.
Right.
And
I get it.
this was
And
the
I can hear that in it.
yes, I think if you listen, I consciously actually I did include elements that should remind you of I Am the Doctor without copying I Am the Doctor. It has the same DNA. Goes in a different direction in the later parts, but the whole vibe of it, I hope to capture the vibe of I Am the Doctor
You
and
did.
the 11th Doctor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you definitely did capture it.
I'm glad to hear that. So that was
Yeah.
the first theme that I did, and I just recorded a quick piano demo, had it on my iPhone, and I went on to the next. And in the span of probably 1 hour, I had 4 different themes that all ended up as the big themes that I used throughout the different box sets. So when I did Broken Hearts, when I did Everywhere and Anywhere, and when I did most recently The Victory of the Doctor, those beginning themes that I composed, I had them always in the back of my mind that I want to use them in some form or another. And especially for Victory of the Doctor, I had one theme that I was so excited about that I composed on that first day, and it was not basically Run, it was another one, which is I don't. It doesn't have a title yet, but I think it will probably just be called A Victory of the Doctor. I could not use it in Broken Hearts because it was a very emotional story. It wasn't grand and epic.
Okay.
Beautiful story, but it would not have fit anywhere in there. I could not use it in anywhere, everywhere and anywhere, because not just is it an epic theme, but it needed a sort of end of the world feeling. A very, it's a very angry theme, I'd say. I describe it as a very angry 11th Doctor theme. So when I got the scripts for Victory of the Doctor, I was so happy to discover that the story that they had come up with perfectly captured the vibe that I hoped I would get in one of those stories so that I could use this theme. And it sort of became the secondary 11th Doctor theme uh, in the big moments of Victory of the Doctor. I was happy to use that. But I think I went on a tangent here. The actual process is I compose the music, I get sent download links as insecure as it may sound. I just get a download link of a completely produced episode. All the actors' voices are there. All the sound design is already finished. So I have the completed work, and I just listen to it and think about which parts need music, which parts don't need music, and what kind of music can I put in which scenes to maximize the listener's experience in this, which in audio drama is particularly challenging, I find, because in film you see what's happening. Even in film, you have to always stay under the dialogue, but especially in audio drama, which is almost only dialogue driven all the time. And in the few seconds where you don't have someone speaking, you need to hear the sound design in order to understand what's happening. If somebody is running from A to B, or I don't know, a Dalek is shooting someone, you need to be really able to hear what is happening to get the visual picture in your head. So what I cannot do with the music is step on top of that. I always have to stay behind of it. But at the same time, I need to if it's an action scene, the music needs to have the drive and still stay under the dialogue and the sound design most of the time. So what I did was I basically approached it as if I was scoring a film. My goal was from the beginning, I don't want these to sound like audio drama. I want these to sound like it was an actual TV episode, but without the picture. So score it like it is a TV episode, but pay extra attention to always stay behind everything else that people need to hear to understand what is going on. Challenging because in film scoring, scoring dialogue scenes is the highest challenge always. You need to do something that emphasizes what's already there without stepping on top of it. It's always a challenge. And here is constant challenge from beginning to end. You do nothing else but score under dialogue. So it in that sense, it was a great not just challenge, but a learning experience for me too. And I feel that from the first audios that I did, which were the unit audios, to Victory of the Doctor, I learned more and more about how to do this, how to pull it off, more and more tricks, what to do, what maybe not to do. So that's the process, basically.
Okay.
Then I send it out. The great thing about working with Big Finish is that I have a tremendous amount of creative control, creative freedom. Let's say it's that is what it is. It's creative freedom. They trust me, and I get to do my thing, my interpretation of what's going on. And as long as I don't do something completely crazy that doesn't fit with what they're trying to do, they let me do my thing, which is completely different to what you usually get in film, where it's far more dialogue between the director and the composer,
Okay.
usually.
You know, Borna, thank you. That right there is absolutely the most in-depth, educational, and intriguing description of the process that I've ever heard. And thank you for answering that. And I guess I was wrong. There is no black car that pulls up and no men in black suits
Maybe
with
one
with a
day.
thumb drive.
I hope one
It's-
day. If
Tell
we
them
end
that
up
that's
doing, yeah,
yeah,
if
tell
we
them
end up
that's
doing
your
something,
preferred
yes, 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 yes. I will. I will include it in my future contract.
There you go. It must be
That's a,
delivered on a thumb drive or a floppy disk by men in black
oh,
suits in a black
oh
car.
yes, floppy
Okay,
disk.
right. A five and a quarter
That's the
inch.
medium.
Right.
Perfect.
No 3.5s. Okay, so you know, I have pretty much ran out of questions for you here because that right there, that I'm gonna have to listen to this again for that to sink in because that is a really wonderful way of describing the process. And I guess let's say you got an email from some big name like I don't know Disney or BBC, uh, and or Lucasfilms or something like that, saying, "Can you do music for this film?" Would you do that for a really large film production?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, you would.
That-
Okay.
I would immediately say yes and ask questions later if there are questions. Sure. So I can do all of that stuff. What I would need for Lucasfilm or for any of the Hollywood films, I would assemble a team because all of those films you can't do them on your own. Basically, what I'm
Okay.
doing right now, especially for Big Finish, I'm just a one-man show. I do all the stuff, all the arranging, all the orchestration, all the production. I mean, when you're working on these audio dramas, we don't have the big orchestra budgets, So all the music has to happen in the box, in the computer. I have the computer samples. I have a sample of a violin. I have to play the violin in on my keyboard. And in order to make it somewhat realistic, I have to spend an enormous amount of time just fine-tuning those computer instruments to make them sound somewhat real. And
Okay.
it is a pain. I have worked with real musicians, and it's such a smooth experience. I love working with my musician colleagues or with orchestras. I did record with orchestra before, and it's just amazing. I could spend a month trying to tweak those computer instruments, and 5 minutes with an orchestra will get a better result than that. It's absolutely crazy. So
Now,
yeah, that is one of the big challenges with working for the lower budget productions is how do you find all the time to not just compose the music, but to arrange it, orchestrate it, and do all of the virtual synchrustration, as they call it, or the mock-ups that make these somewhat realistic sounding. And then mixing, I do all my mixing myself. Mastering, all those steps. It's all you have to wear all these different hats
right.
to get from the initial idea to the end result. So when you're working in Hollywood for Lucasfilm, all those jobs are done by different people. So that would be the first thing. I would assemble a team and then we would go to work.
Okay. Okay, very good, Borna. Absolutely wonderful speaking with you today. I'm in awe, and I'm not saying that just to pay lip service to you or anything. I'm extremely impressed with you and your talent, and I'm gonna have to listen to this again to absorb it some more. The description of the process of writing of creating the music without stepping on the dialogue or the sound design. It's something I've never really consciously thought of before. And it's a very interesting description of a creative process by obviously a very talented and creative mind. So, oh, can you tell us, what are you working on today, or can you even say?
I just recently finished the Victory of the Doctor box sets, and the things that I have to do now, don't have to, but what I like to do now, you mentioned I just released the 43-minute music suite,
Mhm.
which I don't have to do. It's just something that I think a lot of people have been asking for the music. The feedback for particularly for Victory of the Doctor is absolutely amazing. People love these stories, and I got great feedback about the music. A lot of people want to just listen to the music isolated. So that's what I plan to give them. But apart from the music suite, I now am working through all the compositions that I did for the whole run, starting from Broken Hearts all the way until Victory of the Doctor. I want to basically work my way through all the music that I composed and cut it into different tracks and then release those as part of an album and maybe a couple of singles too. When I'm done with that, I still have a whole uh, to-do list of original music that I did outside of Big Finish that is in various stages of completion, but I just didn't have the time to complete those. So that is.
Okay.
Oh, and when I've done with all that, there is a heavy metal album that I wrote. I have all the lyrics, all the music, but I didn't have the time to compose to produce it yet. So that is another big project that I have. When I don't work on other stuff, I can concentrate on that.
Wow. All right. Well, you've left me almost speechless here. Borna, what a wonderful thing to meet you. And for people that have watched or listened to this, dig more into Borna's music. It's super easy to find him. Like I said, start with the root of socials and go directly to his website. It's bornamatosic.com. And that is BornaMatosic.com. He has an absolutely excellent website. You can also find his music on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, YouTube Music, Tidal, Amazon Music, Pandora, Deezer, iTunes, and this one here shocked me, Napster. I did not know I did not know that Napster was still around. And yes, I got kicked off of Napster by Lars Ulrich of Metallica in the year 2000.
You did. You're one of
I
those
was
people, yeah.
Yeah, I was one of those people on that list. I was downloading Nothing Else Matters, and I
Hmm.
didn't know it wasn't. I already owned it on a tape, so I should have been
Yeah.
able to. So listen, uh, for somebody, let's say there's a little kid out there in Germany, or Croatia, or Spain, or the UK, or US. It doesn't matter where. Let's say that there's somebody out there that is inspired by your story, for some reason, maybe it being regionally, or maybe it being specifically related to Doctor Who, for example, or Big Finish, for example. Let's say there's someone out there that wants to do what you have done, and they want to be a successful composer, or they want to go to a beautiful place in the world and play their electric guitar on that rock like you did with your YouTube release. Um, do you have any best advice that you could give someone that would be looking at you for inspiration or education?
Yeah, I'd say trust in your own instincts. Do not try to um, create something that other people like, but create something that you like. And if you figure out what you like about music, for example, what I did was I listened to all my favorite pieces of music, and I learned enough music theory back then that I was able to figure out what is it about this composition that evokes something in me. And basically, I collected all of those little tricks, as I called them, where I felt like, oh, if you do this and this type of chord combination, it creates a special effect. Once you have these tricks in your toolbox, you can start to compose your own music using those tricks. And what should happen, oh, it works for me, is that since I'm using the building blocks that I personally like, I create music that I like. And if I like it, chances are high that around the world there are other people who will like it too. So just do that. And then the hard thing is getting noticed. How do you do that? I have no idea. I, I can't help with that. Probably people that are all the young kids nowadays, they will have a big advantage because they grow up with the internet. I did too. I was there for the beginning stages of the internet, but these guys nowadays, the kids nowadays, they grow up with social media. They are absolute experts in social media, and the power of social media, for all the bad stuff that it can do, it has this power of uniting us from all over the world. I mean, myself, just a guy in a home studio in Germany. I didn't even try it, and for some reason, I got invited onto the stage for the 60th Doctor Who anniversary concert, and I was playing with the orchestra with them. I didn't send out emails. I just made a cover on YouTube a few years ago that got noticed. That people wrote to me about it from people that were actually working on the TV show, and we're in contact ever since. And so one thing led to another, and nowadays I work for Big Finish, obviously. All these things just happened because I created something that I liked and I put it out there. And for some reason, the algorithm of YouTube picked it up, sent it out to other people who all liked it as well. And that's what happened. So, in short, do something that you like and put it out there and hope for the best.
Okay, Borna, wonderful. Everyone that has watched or listened to this, go over and thank Borna and check out his website because you may very well find something that you will love. And Borna, where do you like to be found on socials?
I think on Twitter, or they call it X nowadays,
Yeah.
is my is the is the social media that I use the most at the moment. Of course, the YouTube channel. If you message me on there, I make an effort to respond to all comments. I do have a Facebook page. Feel free to follow me there. Not as active on there. And Instagram too. Same for that one. So probably your best bet is X
Okay, very good. And we
slash
will put
Twitter.
we'll put the links right down below. And from your website, people can launch to all of these socials. There are buttons where you can use that as a main page, or you can go directly to the socials. And I personally met you on Twitter, now known as X. And
Yeah.
Borna, I have to tell you, thank you very much, because when you invite someone to do an interview, you don't know if they're going to say yes or no, or if they'll say anything back. And when I ran into you on X and thought, wow, I would really like to know this guy's story. Thank you very much for getting back to me and being willing to do this, because I've had an absolutely wonderful time, and I hope you have as well. And I've got to admit, I've never interviewed such a wonderful creator inside of a mobile studio in Spain.
Thank you.
And
No,
it'll probably never happen again.
yeah, this is a special situation. No, I had a great talk with you. Thank you for the invitation. It was
Yes,
fun.
sir. Mhm.
And I do ramble on about all these things. I could talk probably for 10 hours, but I
Hey,
think
I'm down for
we
that.
have
If
I,
you want to do it, I am down for talking for 10 hours. Just let me know.
I especially those processes. How do you compose stuff for audio? Because all of these challenges, I had to think so much about it, about the process, and it is it is fun because as a composer, you sit there and you're all alone, just with your keyboard doing your stuff. and just being able to talk about it is kind of fun. So
Right.
thanks for the
Right.
talk.
Yeah, thank you so much. And how wonderful to meet you. And let's definitely keep in touch. Do you come to the US very much?
Not very much. I would like to. I've been there 2 times only so far, so it's beautiful. I love the landscapes, love the cities, love the people. So it's definitely on my to-do list. As I told you, I'm on a Europe trip right now, but
Right.
next time I hope to do a US trip.
Okay. If you make it to the California Bay Area, let me know and I will be your personal tour guide. I'll show you some really cool stuff.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Okay, awesome. All right. Hey, have a nice evening. And again, thank you so much, Borna.
Have a great day.
Okay, you too.